What does it look like to lead with both discipline and heart? Not just in service to others, but in service to your country. Today's guest, Dr. Morrisa Rice, has worn many hats: U.S. Public Health Service Officer, Federal Health Administrator, educator, and mentor. Her journey spans deployments, data, and decades of community impact. She's proof that the quiet, consistent patterns of service and resilience often lead to the loudest legacy. Welcome to Beyond the Pattern, Life and Leadership Unlocked, the podcast for anyone ready to lead themselves and others differently. I'm Bukola, keynote speaker with over 20 years of experience in HR. I'm a firm believer that all leadership begins with self-leadership, because when you choose to change your pattern, you unlock the power to change your world. Dr. Morrisa Rice is a captain in the U.S. Public Health Service, and she currently serves as a deputy director in the Bureau of Primary Health Care at the Health Resources and Services Administration, HRSA. For nearly 2 decades, she's helped shape national health policy and supported underserved communities across the country. In addition to her federal leadership, she's an adjunct professor at Old Dominion University and a proud graduate of Spelman College, Hofstra University, and Walden University, where she earned her PhD in health services. Morrisa's career has been defined by service, strategy, and standing tall in spaces that have been deeply impacted by her presence. Welcome to Beyond the Pattern, Morrisa!
Yay. Thank you. It's good to be here.
I'm so glad to have you. Thank you so much for being here. It's such an honor. How are you?
Absolutely. I'm doing well. I cannot complain. It's one of these things where you just keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Same here, same here. So now for purposes of today, I'm going to call you Dr. Rice.
All right, sounds good.
Okay, I'm going to call you Dr. Rice. Show some respect. But yeah, I mean, I'm just really excited to bring your story to the audience, because I think there's so many nuggets that, really for me, I was just so impressed and blown away by all that you've accomplished. So let's start with the bio. I did my best to represent you in that bio. Was there anything that I left out?
It wasn't much that you left out, but what I will say is that, again, everything that you heard in my bio all stems from my desire to just help people. That was always the thing when I was a young girl. It was 2 things. I want to help people. I love the word health, and I love dance. So I get to do the dance piece, but it was really the pride in helping people. But I think you got it right. You got most of that all right.
Oh, good. Now, just in case people want to get a hold of you, what's a good way for folks to reach out to you?
Yeah, absolutely. Currently right now I am doing, or at least trying to do a better job at making my presence known. So folks can actually find me on LinkedIn. My name, Morrisa. And of course, one of the things I want to make sure is the spelling of the first name, Morrisa, last name Rice. And that is where you will find me. And I do a little bit of posting about things that I've done over my career, but I'm going to try to do a better job.
Nice. It's going to be good to hear more of your voice. I love that.
Thank you.
So,
Okay.
you've served in leadership roles for decades, Morrisa, Dr. Rice, excuse me.
Okay,
Um,
it's okay. You can switch between the two. It's all good.
but let's rewind. Let's rewind. What were some early experiences that shaped your leadership style?
Yeah, and I kind of alluded to that a little bit. Always being willing to help others. I saw a mother that was always willing to help others. I saw a father who was a leader, who was an entrepreneur actually. And so, those skills have been instilled with me from being a child. I'm also a product of Catholic school, and there's leadership and there's structure there in attending that type of school. And so, I think I was always one that was trying to bring individuals together, even as a little girl, play dates. It was like, can they come and play with me? And so, those are signs of, I think, early on of leadership, being able to corral everyone and collaborate with everyone to be able to do things. So,
Got it. No, that makes sense. Now, you mentioned in your education summary that I think I've seen written somewhere that you took the road less traveled. And I know you do have a lot of twists and turns that are really interesting in your background. Can you unpack that for us? Just kind of go into that a little bit more.
yes. So, again, early on, I mentioned I love the word health. So, of course, me at a young age, that equated to, okay, be a doctor, right? And so I went off to Spelman College. I studied biology. and ended up taking the MCAT a couple of times and then just realized, you know what, I'm not sure if the passion is really there for that. What else am I wanting to do? Like, what else do you do with a biology degree? And so, again, going back to my dad, I had an opportunity to sit down with some of his business partners because he worked in the hospital industry. And they were like, did you ever think about maybe the business aspect of healthcare, administration? And I was like, oh, you know what? I never thought about it. So I started doing some research and stumbled upon a program at Hofstra University to get a master's in healthcare administration. And it was actually a new program. So they were recruiting for a lot of different people to come and participate as students. And so that's what I mean by the road less traveled there. Just kind of going with the flow for the most part. So finished that master's degree, ended up getting married and moved off to Ohio. And while there, had an opportunity to talk with someone at church one day and, always being open to ideas of way to grow and learn. They were like, well, did you ever think about working for the health department? And I was like, no, not really. And I was like, I have a master's in healthcare administration. I don't have an MPH. And they said, well, there's a program, physical activity and healthy eating, that might be able to utilize your skill sets. You seem like a collaborator. You seem like someone that's really passionate about what you do. So, long story short, applied for the position. That was in 2000. Ended up in the field of public health. And here we are in 2025, still in the field of public health, but it has taken a lots of different turns. If you would have told me that I would have served as an officer in the United States Public Health Service 20 plus odd years ago, I would have laughed at you. But look at
Hmm.
me, here I am.
Yeah, yeah, no, I mean, it's an amazing career. I mean, nowadays you come across it every now and then, but in terms of tenure, you're just not seeing it as often as we did, for our parents' generation
Right.
or what so have you. So it's impressive. It's impressive. When you think back to the leader or who you were at the beginning of your career versus now, what were some of the early patterns that you saw and you had to kind of evolve? Like what patterns did you hold on to and which ones did you have to maybe let go or pull back on?
We talk about leadership. I think one of the things is that just making sure that you have a clear vision of what it is that you're trying to do. So I was always making sure that if I was going to lead a team, that I set clear expectations. I also set boundaries as well. Sometimes you do have to do that as leaders. But I also think what was important was to be empathetic to as a leader. Recognizing that your team is going to be comprised of all different types of individuals and being able to have those interpersonal skills, I think is really important. I think as I continue to move into leadership role, one of the challenges for me is that I started out as like an analyst. And so I was always involved in like the technical aspect of the work. And so as a leader, you cannot be in the grind all the time because you're supposed to be the visionary person, you're supposed to be the leader, you're supposed to be thinking and doing. And so sometimes being able to pull myself out of the grind and allow others to shine and do what they need to do was something that I definitely had to learn, because then you get buy-in from your team, you get everyone that has a stake in the game, and then now whenever you deliver a product, it was a product of everyone and not just the leader.
Hmm. Hmm. Got it. No, that makes sense. And now when you think back to even values that came from your early life, even childhood, is there anything that stands out that really, you know, really anchored you or played a really big role in your success?
Yeah, I would say hard work. I think hard work is very important, but I also think that hard work without play can sometimes be a challenge too, because I've seen some people work so hard and then when it's time to play, they don't even know how to do it. So being able to find that balance. And so, as a child, I was hardworking. I got my work done. But the reward was, if you get this work done, Marisa, you'll be able to go to dance school. You'll be able to go to, the little parties and things that friends were having. And so I learned how to balance those things. And I think that's really important where I am now, is being able to balance things, because everything is a priority, right? But you have to still sometimes figure out, okay, how do I balance managing these variety of priorities? So I would say definitely the hard work, but making sure you allow yourself some time to play as well.
Got it. And what were some of the biggest lessons as a leader that you learned that you didn't expect, like, really surprised you?
I think there are times when, you're asked to do things that you don't necessarily want to do, but we have to stay focused on the mission. And at the end of the day, for me, it's always been like mission driven for me. Like some tasks, it's like, oh my goodness, this doesn't make sense that we have to do this. However, if this is going to benefit the mission and it may not be necessarily the way in which I'm going to do it, then sometimes we have to put all of the ego, I'm the leader, and go with the buy-in of everyone that's on the team. So that way we can focus, in particular on that mission and be mission driven.
No, no, that makes sense. And as someone who's led in both field work and federal offices, how do you stay connected to the human side of your work?
Again, I think focusing on the mission, because our mission of what we do is helping people out in the community. We're providing services and care for those uninsured and uninsured. But I think also focusing on the team. What are my team's needs, and being able to include them in the discussions. And oftentimes what I do with my team, I don't just sit down and always just talk about the work. We talk about what's happening in your life to their comfort level. So that way I can have a greater understanding of what is going on and if there's some areas in which they may need some support. And so I think it's really important too to make sure that, your team is a priority, even when you're focusing on the mission and the work that's at hand too as well.
Now, you moved through several senior leadership roles at HRSA. What's a leadership decision you've made that taught you something lasting, either because it went well or maybe it didn't?
I think in hindsight, looking back there, and I'm going to go back to that previous example, there were times when I didn't realize that it was part of the grooming process for me to be a leader, to be able to just see how well does Morrisa manage under pressure. And so there were times when there would be deadlines and it was like, oh my God, how am I going to prioritize all of these deadlines? But for some reason, I took a moment, I was able to breathe, just a 5-minute timeout, right? And then I came back to the work and I got things done. And so shortly after, probably maybe a year or so later, the opportunity came for me to be a deputy director. And I believe it was because of the ability to be able to manage the pressure, to be able to engage with the team and stay focused, that allowed them to know this person right here is dependable as a leader in whatever task that we give her.
Now, you also teach. How does mentoring future health leaders sharpen your own clarity and purpose?
Yeah, I have to say, what a fulfillment. I really enjoy pouring into others, especially these inquiring minds of students, and providing purpose for them, because they know what I do. Like, I am in public health. I teach a public health course. It allows me to stay engaged with them, and also it's a break away from the day to day that what I do as a public health professional. And one day, I will move away from this, right? And these will be the individuals. And you want to know that you left a lasting impact and you help to shape those that can come along and be pioneers and innovative in the field of public health. Because there's a lot of innovation that happens in the field of public health.
Just staying connected to any upcoming generations, I think keeps you just connected to.
And young.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Keeps you young.
Sure, for sure. Let's see. So you've navigated both command structures and complex programs. What's your philosophy on leading with both structure and compassion?
Well, again, you have to provide clear goals. But even in providing your clear goals, you need to make sure that you have direction. If the team doesn't know where they're going, it's going to be chaos and confusion. So you have to make sure that there are clear goals, and you also have to make sure that you have really good direction. But you also have to be adaptable to change, because I think sometimes we get caught up in, oh, it has to be done this way. Sometimes the team may have an idea, and listen, hear them out, hear what they have to say. And even sometimes it might be uncomfortable to pivot in that moment because you had that clear vision. It may mean that you should refocus and repurpose and maybe go in a different direction that's going to have an impact on the long-term goal. So, a lot of times we want to stay so rigid, and we don't necessarily need to do that, because sometimes it is important to kind of be like, what, this is not working. And if we continue, this is a train wreck. So how do we incorporate the team in their vision and things of what they wanting to do? And I think it's also important that we understand the big picture too as well, and be able to say, okay, this is where we want to go. Here is our big picture. And then, be empathetic, show respect. I think all of those things come in line when we're talking about, just having, compassion and navigating the work.
Now, are there any professional patterns, like things you used to default to that no longer serve you at this stage of your leadership that you can just speak to so we can get a sense for how far you've come?
Yeah, I think one of the things was, thinking that I had to do everything on my own and not asking for help. Because a lot of times we're taught, oh, if you ask for help, that's a sign of weakness. You don't know what you're doing. Well, you know what? When you're leading teams and you're really making impact, it is really a team effort. So being able to put pride aside and say, hey, listen, I need your level of expertise. I need your help. I think there's value in asking for that as opposed to just suffering in silence. And then all of a sudden at the last minute, you're needing to ask someone just off the cut, looking at, okay, what is it that I have to do? You know what? I don't know how to do this. I need to ask for help. That's something that I'm getting really good at and using the team to do it. Just because I'm the leader does not mean I'm the smartest person in the room. And many times I tell my team, I am not the smartest person in the room. However, I'm really good at bringing us together and getting us to the end product. Now, you all collectively, let's come in here together and let's be smart together so we can deliver our goals.
And how do you differentiate between like title-based leadership, especially with the structure that I know exists in the federal government? So you have title-based leadership, and then you have pattern-based leadership. I mean, I don't know what comes to mind when you think about that, but give me your sense for what you see as the difference between title-based leadership and pattern-based leadership.
Yeah, and I think about that piece, I'm just thinking about like, there are things that I have to do because of my title, right? So, you in HR, you got to approve time cards, right? You got to do performance evaluation. You got to take disciplinary action when things don't go all the way, go the right way, excuse me. So those are title-based things. You really can't get away from those. But pattern-based is just some things that you've seen along the way that you could potentially change patterns. So, for example, I have one-on-ones every other week with my staff. That's a pattern-based thing. We do recognition of staff. That's pattern-based. However, if someone came to me and said, you know what, we're really getting sick of these kudos that you all are doing. Is there something else that we could do? I think that's an opportunity for me to listen and hear from staff or one-on-ones. In the beginning, when I was a new staff person, we used to have our one-on-ones every week. Do you think now we could do them every other week? Absolutely. But those title based things most of the time are non negotiable. So just being able to differentiate between the two, I think is really a good thing. And I think I do a pretty good job at that. I'm pretty easy breezy for the most part. I want folks to show up. I want them to do their work. If you have a problem, come and see me. Other than that, if you don't say anything, I'm assuming you're doing things the way you're supposed to until you're not. Then that's when I have to go into that title basically.
New York in the building. New York in the
There you
building.
go. It comes out every now and then. Every now and then.
Yeah, yeah. No, I love that. I mean, patterns in so many ways, revolve around development for ourselves and others. And so paying attention to patterns, I do feel like, those are the opportunities we have to be nimble, to be flexible, to really pay attention to the needs of those around us. And so I think it's great to hear that you're wired in a way where you know to listen.
And another piece too is also being transparent with folks as much as you can, because sometimes there are certain things that we learn that we're not able to share. But whatever we're able to share, we're transparent about it. And I just believe in being responsive also to folks too as well. I think that's important. If someone asks me something, even if I don't know the answer, I'm going to respond back rather than not saying anything at all. I think those are also good pieces there too as well. And that could be pattern based too. It just depends on the scenario and the situation.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I hope you don't mind me asking. I notice that you're part of a small group of Black women at your rank in federal service. How have you learned to manage visibility, voice, vulnerability, like in spaces where maybe you're the only one or like the first?
Yeah, and sometimes that has occurred and that has happened. And I would say just across my whole career, there are times when I, may look up and I might be the only Black woman in the room or what have you. But I think just, being confident, in my abilities and remembering the things and people that I have that can support me. When I'm maybe feeling some kind of way about certain things, I still rely on my mentors to provide guidance and leadership and support and all of those great things. And that kind of helps me. And just remembering why I'm there, remembering to focus on that mission. And you probably hear me say that so many times. I'm definitely mission driven and just not being afraid, and especially if I know I'm doing the right thing and I'm acting with integrity. and also being, going with the facts, I think then that kind of rules out a lot of the fear and the anxiety that may occur in those avenues. And I will say that, I've been really blessed across my career to really have a good support system. There have been occasions where I think I may have been challenged, but I think just because I am, one that I kind of let things just roll off. I don't take them too personal. I just stay focused. And sometimes I realize it's not me, it's them. And so therefore, we just go back to just being focused about what it is we have to do. I just kind of move on. I mean, that's all you can do.
Yeah, yeah, no, I can totally relate to that. I mean, at times you do what you can. I mean, but you can't control every factor,
That's right.
and you just have to do your best in the moment with the information you have. So no, that makes
Absolutely.
sense. Now,
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah. So what's lighting you up right now? Personally or professionally? Is there anything coming up that you think would be good to share with our listeners?
Yeah. So, one good thing that's coming up, and this just, again goes back to what you were saying, dedication. I've been in public health for 25 years, but I've been at HRSA for 20 years. I've done pretty much my whole federal career at HRSA. And so in November, I will have 20 years, which makes me eligible for retirement from the United States Public Health Service Commission Corps. However, I'm still enjoying what I'm doing. I'm still enjoying the work. I still enjoy the people that I work with. And so, I'm a planner though. And so as I think about it, it's kind of like, I'm still passionate about that work, but there's still some other passions out there that's going to allow me to kind of help others. So, we'll see. We'll see. Some things, may be on the horizon in
You
the,
might get a
next five to
podcast.
10 years.
Yeah, you might get your own podcast,
I
right?
might get my own podcast. I mean, one of the things, and I'm grateful to you for this, is that I actually did enroll in the Bank of America Institute for Women's Entrepreneurship certificate program. And so I'm halfway through at eCornell. So I'm really excited about that. And then not long ago, I completed a professional organizer certificate. And so I'm really looking to launch that in some future years. And again, I want to continue to help others, even in retirement. So, there's a lot of exciting things that are happening for me, but public health is probably going to always be ingrained in my heart. I mean, I'm so grateful that I found it, or it found me rather, because that's really what happened. It found me.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's the thing. Careers are, you get asked when you're younger what you want to be when you grow up, and a lot of times it takes us years. I mean, there are 50-year-olds walking around don't know who they want to be when they grow up. So
That's right.
it's such a complicated question because as you get
hmm
more and more exposed to the world, you start to form more of a point of view, and so. But you do have to put yourself out there and try new
Absolutely.
things. And yeah, the eCornell class is fantastic. So yeah,
Thank
no,
you.
I'm glad you're taking advantage of that. So
Thank you so much. And I like what you said. You do have to put yourself out there because
yeah,
if you're not your biggest cheerleader, who is going to be? And I think a lot of times we got to get to that space and block out all of the noise of, the thoughts about, I can't do this. Yes, you can. Because if you look at your careers, how did you think you got there? Like 25 years and something. You did something right.
yeah,
So
no,
why not
definitely.
continue to build upon those things, that got you to that point?
Well, and it's good to hear about you acknowledging your mentors. And it sounds like you got a lot of support, which is fantastic. It sounds like you don't even take it for granted. I mean,
I don't.
you know, just, it's not too far. You have to look around to see that everyone's environment is different work-wise. And so when you stumble across a situation that's really supportive where you can thrive to
hmm
even your level, an elite level, I mean, that's something you got to be proud about. Yeah.
Yes, and I didn't want to get in trouble and name anybody and then forget. So you all know, if you see this, you know who you are, you know who has shaped my career. And so I'm speaking to you.
So she's not going to name anyone, but
No,
you all know
ma'am.
who you are.
No,
You all
ma'am.
know who
I'll
you
get myself in trouble. No, ma'am. But they know who they are.
are. All right. Well, no, that's great. That's great. Now, I asked you a bunch of questions. Is there anything more that I did touch on that you want to share, just as it relates to patterns and how you've had to evolve as a leader? Is there anything more that you would share, even advice for those maybe looking to get into the federal government?
Yeah, I would say hang in there. I believe, there is always a space in public health. Public health is one of those things that I'm so very grateful that I've had the opportunity to serve, not only at the federal level, but also at the county level and city level and those types of things. There's definitely work out there for everyone. And it's changing. And there's a lot of innovation that's happening with it, and it's a way for you to be able to give back to your communities too as well. I mean, when I was living in Ohio, that's where I worked at the health department, and I got to see the impact of the programs that I had on not only myself, my children. They benefited from the programs as well as a lot of people that I knew in the community. So hang in there. Lots of public health schools across the country with accreditation and all of those wonderful things. So we need you. We definitely need more. We need men, women, you name it. However way you categorize yourself, we need you.
No, thank you for that. Thank you for that. So now I wanna just kind of shift and tap into something a little more fun.
Okay, I
I've been
like
peppering
fun.
you. I've been peppering you with all these questions, and these this last part helps the audience get a different feel for the guest. So there's a game that we play called Pattern Check, and it's
Okay.
just a segment designed to just give the audience a different taste of who you are, a different perspective. So I'll give you two words, and I just ask for you to pick one of the two words that speaks to you right now, and then just tell us why. Okay.
Okay.
So the first pairing is structure or flow. Which one do you respond to and why?
So where I am now, it's more flow. It used to be
Okay.
structured, but now it's flow because I realized that structure is okay, but flow is even better. It gives me an opportunity to engage with others and kind of be open to ideas and thoughts.
How about solo, recharge, or group energy?
I love groups. I love people. I love people. I love the group energy. And it took some folks saying that about me. Like, Reese, you really thrive in groups. I mean, and that goes for homecoming and that goes for the office. So I'm the same there as I am in the office. So definitely the group energy.
Got it. Strategy or heart?
Heart. And I mean, I can't even describe it. It's always about the heart. I am, even as a leader, I can strategize. But if there's somebody else on the team that wants to take that on and wants me to bring the heart piece of the strategy, like getting the buy-in of everybody and getting to the core and the folks, I want the heart piece.
Got it. And mentorship or legacy? I think I know the answer. Well, I might
Mentor,
not.
it is about the mentorship piece for me. I've benefited from it. I have provided it. I still provide it. I even tell my kids sometimes they're my mentors as well. I'm learning a lot from them. Like why didn't I think to do that when I was your age? Like what? But then also I'm there to mentor them. But bringing it back to work, I have several mentees. And then I'm also a mentee of many too as well. So that's really important. But legacy is good. I'm not gonna lie, legacy is good.
Okay,
But that,
okay.
yeah, my strong piece is the mentorship.
So that completes the game. I mean, hopefully there weren't were there many surprises? I mean, you talked about how you evolved along the way, started off in structure and now moved into flow. Any surprises or insights just from that little exercise?
Yeah, one of the things, like, what I've learned over the years just about myself is not to take myself so seriously, especially because over the course, like, I've had a really successful career, but there have been times when I didn't get the job and I had to learn, not every job is for me. Not everybody's going to accept my personality. And if that is the case, I have to stay true to myself. And that means that's probably not the environment or the position that, I should be involved because if you can't be yourself, who else can you be? And so, again, I've always tried to remain true to my values over the course of time. And I felt as though my pathway stayed lit by just doing that. Like the path was always lit. I just had to just continue to follow it. And, in the end, only I can dim my light. No one else can really dim my light. Only I can dim my light. And so I just kind of just live by that mantra. And my dad always tells me, work your plan your work your plan. I've been doing that since high school. Every presentation I do, I always bring it in. I hadn't planned on mentioning it today, but it just popped into my head. So there you have it.
Got it. No, thank you. So, Dr. Rice, thank you for your decades of service and the way you lead with both strategy and soul. You've shown us that impact isn't always loud. Sometimes it's the quiet consistency of presence, preparation, and purpose. And for everyone listening, I want them to remember that patterns aren't just habits, they're leadership tools. And when we understand the ones we inherited, the ones we've chosen, and the ones we want to leave behind, that's when we can unlock real transformation. So that's it for this episode of Beyond the Pattern, Life and Leadership Unlocked. Stay grounded, stay open, stay curious, and keep moving beyond the pattern. Have a good week, everyone. Thanks for listening to Beyond the Pattern. If this episode spoke to you, leave a review or send a message. I read every note, and you can reach out to me to get more tools and resources at bukolaogantala.com.